everybody. It's Eric J. Olson for yet another live episode of the Managing Partners podcast. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Neil Fridman. Hey, Neil, how's it going?
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me on. It's going
Well, I
well.
appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. I'm a lifelong New Yorker. Born in Long Island, lived in Manhattan the last almost 15 years up until COVID, and ran my practice out of an office in downtown Manhattan. And since COVID, I've bounced around the country a bit, spent some time in Charleston, South Carolina, and now back in New York, but out of Manhattan and living in the Hamptons area. So it's been pretty unique for me and my team who's been working remotely. So, it's kind of a COVID story. I've been in a few locations I never thought I would be in when I expected to stay in Manhattan for the next few years at least.
That's really interesting. And I was actually just listening to a podcast or something in the last couple of days where they were talking about, in particular, commercial real estate in Manhattan, and how some companies are staying, but the some are leaving, and a lot of people are moving out of Manhattan and trying to go to less dense population areas. Was that kind of your thought as far as
Yeah, that was
where you
the
moved?
thought. I lived in a high-rise building, going in and out of the elevator every day, and also for my business, I had employees who were commuting from the tri-state area, whether it was from Queens or New Jersey, and going on mass transit, taking a train and a subway wasn't the most ideal thing for them from a health perspective. So operating completely remotely now.
Yeah, and those were the two things that were cited about big cities, in particular New York, was the elevator. You can't avoid that, especially if you're more than like 4 floors up, and mass transit, subways. Yeah, you're kind of stuck in a little capsule and hoping for the best, huh?
Yep. So now I'm out in more rural area for the first time in a while, and it's nice. Starting to really appreciate nature and being out of the city, the concrete jungle.
Nice. Do you think that you will stay out of Manhattan, like after this all blows over?
I think we're a Manhattan-based firm. That's where our home is. Our employees want to go back to the office. There are two people that we hired that I interviewed on Zoom and haven't met in person yet. And I think there's efficiencies that you get from working in person and being on the same page with things. I mean, we really use technology to our advantage in every way possible, even before COVID. So the transition was seamless for us. But, to get everybody up to speed, it's kind of like a lot of one-on-one Zoom sessions and everything like that. Whereas when you're in an office, there are nuances to it, just meeting in the hallway or having that impromptu side meeting about an issue that you just don't get, and especially for younger associates too. And those two people we hired were junior associates, so for them it's probably they're not in a work environment right now witnessing like how partners interact with clients and things like that. There's little nuances that you get from being in person, but overall it's been an easy transition.
Cool. So you kept your office?
We kept it for a while, and then in late June we gave it up and switched entirely remotely with the intention to return at some point to be determined.
Got it. Yeah, that must have been certainly a difficult decision. We've kept our office, but there's only one other person here right now, and yeah, it's any given day of the week, it's usually empty, and we're just 100% remote, even though a lot of our workers staff could come in. Yeah, that's tough. Well, let's talk about like what is your area of expertise, and like what are some of the clients that you work for? I'm guessing that you picked Manhattan, and you're either on or were on or near Wall Street in particular, right? Is that right?
Yeah, our office was actually in the Soho area, and great location for us and the team. Our practice areas are in corporate and real estate law. So on the corporate side, I would say 95% of the work we do is with merging startup companies, particularly in the technology space, and then on the corporate. On the real estate side, we do commercial real estate only, representing investors and developers on acquisitions, dispositions, refinancing of commercial property, mostly in the New York City area.
Got it. Okay. Is it are your clients mostly in that, the New York area or nationwide?
We have a mix. I would say the vast majority are East Coast, but we do have some clients in California, just given the proximity to Silicon Valley and representing a number of different, high tech startups in, the prop tech space, insure tech, health tech, things
Hmm.
like that. A lot of tech.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tech's not going anywhere anytime soon, is it?
Yeah,
And there's always a new idea floating around with some VC money behind it. That's for sure. Well,
absolutely.
what are some trends that you're seeing either in the industry at large or in your particular niche in in your practice areas? Like, what are some different kinds of trends that you're seeing?
Since the trends I've seen in, on a year-over-year basis, and I say that particularly because I noticed in March, March of last year, when COVID hit, there was, a short lull. And then after this very short lull, my firm in particular has just been firing all cylinders in the, capital raising, space for our clients. I think there's a lot of VC money out there, like alluded to earlier. And, there was some maybe hesitancy at the very early stage of 2020 to deploy that, but from March of last year till now, we're seeing a lot of money going into particular spaces, and that is a lot of the deal flow that we get. We're helping to raise capital, do restructurings and M&A transactions.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
And COVID's accelerated our clients' growth, like the clients that had businesses pre-COVID that just sort of leaned into the work from home, play from
Mhm.
home type of if they were in that space, they've seen an acceleration in growth. And some businesses, I think, even would not necessarily have been funded had it not been for COVID, because they're so biased towards certain things that resulted from COVID, whether it's sanitization or technology for the work from home, play from home type of thing.
Yeah. Like with your firm, you said that you guys, the transition to remote was seamless. I just spoke with another attorney right before you and I started talking, and she was telling me that they have been in the office every single day this whole way through. Now,
Uh,
she didn't indicate necessarily like why, or if it was lack of technology. I think it may be more just the interpersonal connections and the ease of doing business and talking, like we had kind of mentioned before. um, what kind of got you in a position? I'm assuming it was definitely pre-COVID, if the transition was seamless. So what got you in a position to kind of harness technology and have a seamless transition?
yeah, it's a great question, and it also ties into why I chose to start my own practice. And I worked for two Midtown Manhattan full service law firms prior to starting my practice. And they always say that lawyers are slow to embrace technology, and those particular firms really were. And I always enjoyed technology. I took computer science classes when I was a kid on the side, just for fun. So any technological solution, it's like a gadget to me. If I think that I can get some benefit out of it and increase like the efficiencies, then I'm going to at least give it a try. And if it works for our organization, then we're going to double down on it. So when we started, and that's time going back to, working in like a, old school, like law firm environment, slow to embrace technology. Whereas, we did everything in the cloud from day one, utilizing, a lot of G Suite apps, in terms of Google Drive and email and things like that. But in addition to that, our tech stack always included Slack and Monday, productivity resources and practice management software, and trying to sort of tie all these things together to make it, less of like a notification frenzy and more of stuff that can actually improve efficiencies. So our office was just a resting place for our laptops. Everything was in the cloud already.
I love it. I have the exact same philosophy, and many of the same tools, Slack, G Suite. We use Asana instead of Monday, but a lot of people have said very good things about Monday. And I think it's amazing. And it's the same with me. As a matter of fact, the computer itself is almost irrelevant these days. So like right now, this computer that I'm on is a Google Pixel Book. It's a Chromebook, which means like you can't install like normal kinds of apps, because I don't even want that. I don't want all the problems that come with it.
Yeah.
We are 100% cloud, and it's great. I love it. I don't understand why people aren't like that.
I feel the same way. I never understood it. I worked at 2 law firms that had these old like server rooms that would overheat in the summer, and they had to call in like a crew to cool it down.
Yep.
And I'm like, are client files on there? Because if they are, we have a problem.
Yeah, and I just can't imagine that's secure when you have your own server. I've gone to IT cybersecurity talks where they'll spend 45 minutes out of a 50-minute talk talking about how to protect yourself from someone coming into your server and locking it down. And then I've literally asked, like, well, what about cloud servers? Are they secure? And the answer is, oh yeah, they're secure, definitely. So the comparison is just drastic. As a matter of fact, another client, they need to pause everything they were doing for them because their server blew up, and they had big unexpected IT expenses. And I'm like, oh, just go to the cloud, guys. Go to the cloud.
Yeah, I could imagine, going to sleep at night and, thinking, if there's a problem with like my on-premises server, am I going to lose all my client file?
Yeah. I guess we opened this business. Well, I opened the business 8 years ago, and so it was all cloud at that time. I mean, I was probably a little bit cutting edge, but still, I just decided to go all cloud and never had a server. When did you open your business?
So we started in August of 2019.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we are under 2 years here.
Okay, I'm surprised that you were able to get out of your lease after basically 1 year, right?
I was testing the waters with the Soho area. A lot of lawyers, they'll go, downtown by the courts or in Midtown, especially for corporate lawyers. But, I love the Soho area. And I said, a lot of our clients, they don't even want to meet in person, so we don't need to be in Midtown. They want to do everything online even before COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm picking an area that we like, my employees like, and it was sad leaving having to leave the office. We set it up really nice.
Yeah. Well, I guess we've had the benefit, going back to technology. We've had the benefit of opening our businesses somewhat recently, when cloud is pervasive, whereas these other firms that have been around forever, they have the legacy of old technologies and old processes. So there's a benefit there of being young, as I guess.
It's hard to write a ship that's large rather than you're just starting out and adopting these solutions. So
Absolutely. I feel it every day as we get bigger. It's like, okay, we're not, quite as nimble as back in the day. And you have to be a little more careful about some of the changes you inject, for sure. And I can just imagine, projecting onto the future, it could get a little more difficult over time.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, hey, so I know in the next probably year or two, you'll probably go back to an office in Manhattan. What are some of your growth plans for, say, like the next 5 to 10 years?
Sure. So a lot of our strategy was sort of growing with our clients because of the nature of the clients we work with, which is on the corporate side, as I mentioned, startup clients, and we've biased towards early stage, but we've seen in the last year and a half or so that they're, raising capital, increasing headcount. And so our goal is to grow to meet those needs. Clients are starting to need, M&A services and things like that. So my growth plan is to, be in-house for, IP, in addition to, general corporate work, and also, develop the commercial real estate side a little bit more, which, takes time, but we're fortunate to have a number of clients who, developed in the New York City area.
Nice. Cool. And as far as like growing the business, is there a marketing or advertising strategy that has worked well for you, or conversely not worked well?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of lawyers from, I've read and I spoke to other lawyers, they all kind of, complain about Google, but also, say, praise it if you know how to use it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, and you start out and you don't know what the hell you're doing, you'll get taken for a lot of cash. I mean, and you need to really do research into being able to decide which types of marketing is right for you. I think initially we tried a kind of a blanket approach, and we're trying to be everywhere, and not at all platforms. But I found that what we're trying to do now is be more strategic about developing our audience, and we found some success on LinkedIn, and Instagram is still an uphill battle, but in terms of success, I think really people want to see personalization, and they want to know who's behind that law firm, rather than just seeing the big logo with scales or something like that. They want to know who the lawyers are, and I've done a number of videos on certain topics that have really resonated with either clients or potential clients, in terms of their thinking about their legal needs. And I see that as the real value add. So we're looking to double down on doing more personalized videos on useful topics that can add value to our audience and spur questions. We recently started doing Clubhouse talks about you're smiling, you like.
Yeah, no, you're doing well. Yeah, you're on top of it.
Oh, yeah. So we do a startup legal questions answered, once a week on Clubhouse, and we've been experimenting with that because that's a newer platform for us. But it's good for me because I'm not one to always be on screen everything, but I love talking about entrepreneurship and startup questions. So the format allows me to hide behind my camera and just have an open discussion, and we've gotten some really good feedback from that, and follow-up. So that's something that maybe some of your viewers might want to try out. It's really easy, just promoting a new session that you're going to be on, and you invite people, and hopefully get some other people who are interested to join in the discussion.
That's really cool. That a lot of people have not even heard of Clubhouse.
They will.
So I'm an Android user, and so it's not available to me. But I actually I bought a used iPhone 8 for one reason and one reason only, and that's to check out Clubhouse, because it's just everybody's in my circle at least, and people that I follow online, they're talking about it, and they say it's great, and they say great things about it. And so I wanted to kind of play in that space a little bit. And this past Friday night, I spent a couple hours just listening in on conversations, bouncing around. It was interesting. It does seem time consuming. That seems to be the difference between that kind of social media, if that's the right phrase even for it, and other kinds of social media. You can't have someone else just like posting for you as an example. You have
Right.
to be there yourself.
But you know, that's completely true. But it allows you to you know, converse directly with your audience in a really informal way, but that feels like formal enough to get like a really good discussion going, if you know what I mean. And sometimes I'll hop on there randomly, and you know, there are people from Andreessen Horowitz on there, you know, the principals talking about venture capital investments, and celebrities are on there talking about their, you know, business objectives and other things. So it's pretty impressive the access that you can get, where you know it would be a little bit more challenging on another social platform.
Yeah, I still haven't figured the whole thing out. That's for sure. I'll admit that. I was looking for the blue check marks next to the famous people's names because I was like, is this really, you know, Elon Musk or someone else?
Yeah.
I guess they don't do that yet, do they?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I guess I took it at face value. When the person starts to speak, you have to evaluate whether it's them.
Yeah, I don't trust anyone online, so I'm looking for that blue check mark. Well, cool, Neil. Hey, if anyone has a question for you and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
My email, it's neil@fridmanlawfirm.com. That's probably the best way.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Neil. So if you have any questions for Neil, reach out to him by his email, neil@fridmanlaw.com. And if you happen to be a managing partner looking to improve your digital marketing, check us out at arraylaw.com. All right, Neil, thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay, hold on a second. I forgot to tell you that beforehand.